Well, this is Monday, July 12th, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So this is how long it took me to get to St. Catharines, Canada, because I spent the night and the previous night in Lawrenceville, PA, because I couldn't enter New York with this oversized load on the weekend, right? So I got up at what was it, like 5:45? Like the exit is this way, but it's a crazy, you know, humps over there. I know I'm gonna catch the ground if I go this way, so I always exit through the entrance. I don't have a choice. And so yeah, I started driving. It took me what, 1 hour to get to Dansville. I didn't stop. Like normally I stop there, I didn't stop, I kept going. And then I had to go through Queenston-Lewiston Bridge because this is a used machine, right? And Queenston-Lewiston is where the export office is. There's no export office at the Peace Bridge. Normally I would never cross here because it's such a headache, you know. So anyway, I go in there.
200 meters, turn left onto York Road, Niagara Regional Road 81.
I arrive at after a considerable detour. They were sending me on all these back roads to avoid the toll 290. You know, those two bridges there where you go on the island and off the island. So I was going like this. It was a very complicated route. So I had a piece of paper. Oh yeah, you see? These are my instructions just for New York. 28, 246, New York 63, US 20, New York 77, New York 5, New York 324, I-290, 2 miles, and then off to US 62 for 10 miles, and then New York 182 west to I-190, and then 3 miles to the bridge. So I spent 5 miles once I entered New York. Well, once I went on that 36, New York 36, that's where my backwood road started. From that point, I spent 5 miles on the freeway. Everything else was local roads like this. So it took forever. It took probably, I was at the export office, I think around 10:30. And then I go inside, I put my paperwork in, and this time again I forgot to pick up the originals. You know, the broker told me, hey, the original bill of sale and the original invoice are being shipped to the shipper via FedEx. And I totally forgot about that, you know, as it often happens. But I did ask like that young guy who was loading me, and he did like the inspection sheet, you know, or kind of like a one-page release form. And when he was done, when we were loaded, I said, okay, is there any paperwork are you giving me? So now that would be his cue to give me the export paperwork. But I guess the lady in the office forgot to tell him, and so when I asked him about this question, am I getting any more paperwork? He says, oh no, you're good, you can go. And then I left, and then like when I'm sitting in Harrisburg for the weekend, the office lady sends me an email with copies of these original documents. Oh, you might need this. And I wrote back, I said, thanks, but I wish you would give me the originals when I was there. Like, what the heck, you know? And so these were color originals. And so I printed them out. But what I think saved me from being turned around at the export office is because I had the Caterpillar MSO, Manufacturer's Certificate of Origin. And ever since, like that one, you need to have the original as well. But ever since the COVID started, this pandemic, Caterpillar refuses to issue any papers. It's all by email, and it says so right on that form when they send you this MSO, Manufacturer Certificate of Origin. It says, due to COVID-19 restrictions, Caterpillar will not issue paper copies or like before, so this has to be considered, this has to have, this paperwork, this document have to have the same you know, legal force as the originals. And there's a digital signature in there. And I think that's what saved me, because when I came in there, there was another guy complaining that he had like a step-day guy. He was bringing a some kind of a forklift, and it was a used forklift somebody bought in the States, and he didn't have the original paperwork, and so they sent him back. And at that bridge, it happened to me once when I was owner-operator. When I worked for a different company, right? When I was not independent, they did not give me the originals. And so my dispatch said, okay, there's a truck stop there, like 5 minutes away on the Indian reservation. And it says, go there, we'll send you the originals by UPS. And so that's what I did. So I remember I spent 2 days in there, and then went back to the export office, and they let me go. But this time, I put in my paperwork. I'm sitting there half an hour, 1 hour. Nobody's calling me, because you have to put the paperwork in the office, and then you have to go sit in the sitting area there with chairs, and they call you on the radio, on the PA. And I was thinking, how are they gonna call me, because those documents don't have my name on them. And so after about an hour, I went in, I said, did I miss my call or something? And I see my paperwork is lying on the counter. And the lady says, I don't think so. Okay, so I go back to, you know, there's a couple of guys there were just chatting about trucking. So another hour passes, and I tell the other guy, I said, okay, I have to go check with them again. I don't want to, you know, if they're turning me back, they're turning me back. If not, I have to keep going and deliver this machine. So I go in again, and the same blonde, like a very tall blonde with short hair, like looks pretty good in the uniform. And I say, everything's okay with my paperwork? And she says, I don't have any paperwork, like I don't have anybody waiting for any paperwork. And I said, no, right here on on the counter, that's my paperwork. There's 4 pages, and for some reason they took them from out of the tray and then they just dropped them on the counter. And she says, well, you probably didn't follow the directions. I said, what directions? Well, look under the tray. There's a list of documents you have to supply. And it says bill of sale, manufacturer certificate of origin, la la la, and then at the bottom it says fast card or passport. And that's what I didn't do. I didn't attach my passport, so these guys just threw my paperwork from the tray, put it on the counter. Nobody's telling me anything, you know. So it's good that I showed some, you know, initiative, right? Otherwise I could have sat there till evening. Because on the one hand, you're afraid to annoy them because these guys are like cops, you know, with unlimited power. So they can do whatever they want, and they really get annoyed very easily if you bother them. Because, you know, you can go in and say, hey, any news for me? And like, who the heck are you? Go sit in the lobby there. We'll call you when it's done. Right? And so this way I saw my paperwork, so I insisted on some clarification, and then I stapled, well, just use those staples to connect my passport to my paperwork, put it back in the tray, and then 15 minutes later I hear on the PA finally, Dratchev? All right. And I'm thinking, okay, now this lady, people were saying that she was very strict. And she sent back that guy with the forklift. He says, if she's dealing with your paperwork, your goose is cooked. But then I hear Dratchev. Okay, I go in, and that blonde says, and I'm like holding my breath, like, is she gonna say, you're missing some paperwork, you need the originals? And she says, I'll meet you at your truck. I said, yes, ma'am. So I ran to my truck. 10 minutes later, she showed up. Just climbed on the trailer. Look at the serial number of the excavator. Compared it to the paperwork. Gave me all the paperwork and the passport. Here you go. I said, thank you. I didn't know how to address her, because, you know, sometimes people get pissed off if you call them ma'am, right? So I just said, thanks a lot. And that's it. And I got out of there. I went to the Canadian side. That was like 5-minute procedure, because now there's no cars, right? There's no cars. Very easy to clear the border, and all my paperwork was, I did it on the night before on my computer, and the broker did their part, so everything was, as we say in Russian, cheeky. Everything was A1. And then after that, the last obstacle to freedom on the Canadian side was dealing with the bridge authority. And these people here, this Queenston-Lewiston Bridge, they don't take payment at the bridge. I think I mentioned this before. They have this, I don't know, antique procedure in place where you, first off, of course, you have to do this TLP form online, you know, when you're asking them to, when you're requesting the permission to cross the bridge with an oversized load. And so you have to tell them axle weights, you know, your name, your company name, contact name. And for me, it's easy. Company name, Sergei Dratchev. Contact person, Sergei Dratchev. Driver, Sergei Dratchev. Phone number, address, which way are you going, westbound or eastbound? Westbound to Canada, eastbound to US. Westbound to Canada. And then, okay, your weights, your dimensions, and that's it. Then on the same night, I think I received the email approved. And of course it says, please make sure your driver stops at the toll captain's office. Toll captain's office. Who the heck is the toll captain? But that's how they usually they phrase it, like that, to make the job, I guess, sound important. And so I park over there, put on my flashing lights after I finish the Canadian customs, right? So I just park inside that plaza before you pay the toll. At the toll booth, you have to stop there and go inside. And it took like 20 minutes. And I took the form with me. I said, hey, it has my name, it has my address on it. Can I just leave it with you? Because I know you guys don't take the payment here, you know, for oversize. It's like extra payment on top of the toll for the bridge. In my case, it was 175 bucks Canadian. And when you're crossing at the Peace Bridge in Buffalo, US side, Fort Erie, Canadian side, they take the payment right there. But these guys over here, it's a different authority, it's a different bridge authority. So you go in there, you have to wait there like freaking half an hour till they give you the invoice, and you have to sign for it. And even then, you cannot make the payment. You have to wait till a copy of that invoice comes in the mail. I mean, it's such a waste of paper and time, you know, and human resources. And this guy is giving me all this, and I said, when are you guys gonna start doing things like they do at the Peace Bridge? And he says, oh, you're talking to the wrong person. You have to talk to the, you know, our accounting office. He says, I'm just doing this. He says, if I said, can you maybe pass them this feedback? And he says, no, they're not gonna listen to me. If I tell them, they'll just think I'm bitching. So he says, you have to tell them, and maybe they'll change. And I said, I've been asking them this. That's why I said I don't cross here, because you guys are very difficult to work with. It's always a waste of a lot of time here. So whenever possible, I cross via Peace Bridge, you know? And again, the guy says, well, you're talking to the wrong guy. I'm just working here. I don't make the rules. Okay. So I took the invoice, walked to my truck, went through the toll, and of course I have the Easy Pass, you know, from the States, and they take that in Canada at the bridge. They take it at the Queenston-Lewiston Bridge. They take that at the Peace Bridge. You just go through express lane. Even though this is American unit, but a couple of spots in Canada, like the Peace Bridge and the Queenston-Lewiston Bridge, it's accepted for payment, which is very cool. So I don't have to, you know, fish out my credit card or debit card. And I saw on the screen it says $30. So they charged me $30. I'm pretty sure it was. So I have 8 axles. They charge per axle. I'm pretty sure it was American. $30 US. And that's it. Once you leave the toll booth, you are on 420, Freeway 420, and then it hooks up with QEW, Queen Elizabeth Way. And where I started this video, I just stopped there at the Husky truck stop to get DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, because I was running low. And over there it's all like near, I'm going to Etobicoke, western part of Toronto, and over there it's there's a couple of truck stops, but they're way north at near the airport, you know, to get the DEF. Otherwise you have to buy those jugs, and they're 2-3 times more expensive than when you buy DEF at the pump. And here at this Husky, DEF was I think it was 89 cents Canadian a liter. 89 Canadian a liter. And you have to prepay. So I parked the truck, I went inside, I said, hey, can I buy 50 bucks worth of DEF on pump 2? And she says, DEF only? I said, yeah, I don't need diesel. I filled up this morning in Pennsylvania at $3.49 a gallon US. What do you do? So now I'm on my way past the beautiful Lake Ontario on my right towards Etobicoke or Toronto to unload this CAT 335 FLCR. I have no idea what FL stands for, but CR means compact radius. It's one of those cute machines that have a reduced diameter counterweight in the back, but it's taller. So the weight of the machine is the same as if it was a regular machine. It's just that when it's working in some tight quarters, you know, near the traffic lanes, and the guy has to swing the house, the counterweight stays inside the tracks. You know, it doesn't stick out. So it's useful. So let's say, you know, if they're working on the shoulder here, right? And then when he turns the house, his house does not create a danger for other motorists, you know? So anyway, it's a pretty popular kind of like a rental machine. A lot of construction guys, they like these CR compact radius machines because they're easier to work with in tight areas. Now some guy asked what's with the cover on the exhaust. Honestly, I'm surprised at that question. Usually people ask why you don't have anything on your exhaust. And so this one guy has no idea what that's all about. So he missed the whole argument in comments on the previous videos, right? But I do believe that it's an urban myth. I believe that if you leave the exhaust open, nothing can happen to the turbo. Because there's nowhere the air can go. Like, okay, it can go in, right? But for the air to go in, there has to be an outlet somewhere there in the engine. And the engine is shut off, so all the valves are closed. Like, there's no draft, right? And yet some people still think that if you leave the exhaust open and then you load it and you drive like normal, like I do now, then the air will get into the exhaust, and by the time you reach your destination, it will ruin the turbo, because the turbo will be spinning like a fan, and there's no oil because the engine is shut off. There's no oil, and so the turbo basically overheats, kills itself, flies into the atmosphere, and knocks down a satellite. So I call that BS. But when a customer requests the exhaust to be covered, I cover it. From what I understand, it's still useful to cover it, but not because of the turbo myth, but because of the rain or snow. You know, you don't want dirt to get in there. Maybe you go through some, you know, storm and there's snow, there's sand in the air or some stuff like that. So that's my understanding. So sometimes they want this to be covered, just they don't want water and you know, maybe debris, like, you know, maybe you hit a tree and a small piece of wood will go in there. That's not good. But this time I just put an old shopping bag on the top, so this just will prevent some you know, branches and leaves and sticks to get in there for sure. Not so much for water, because it's just fabric. I'll do an update about my accordion. I still don't have it, but finally there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'll upload an update on that on my other channel about the accordion. If you're interested in that, please check out later today on my Russian accordion channel. So the weather's good, not too hot, not too cold, so plus 21 C. So plus 10 is 50, another 10 is 68, and it's 1 degree above 20, so we are at 69 F, ladies and gentlemen. And as you can see, I'm driving in my fancy Walmart shorts and my South Carolina t-shirt. Now I know you put some people from Florida in these conditions, you know, 69 F in July. I think they'll be complaining about being cold. Like if you're from Florida, you probably like it somewhere around 95, 100. Otherwise you start putting extra socks and sweaters, you know, long pants. No, over here 21 C is a good temperature. Yeah, I got lucky today, man. At the border, I'm telling you, you know what the worst could happen? The same stuff that happened to me, what, 5 years ago. They would tell me to get the originals and then turn me around and tell me to go park the truck somewhere. And then first off, it's an oversized load. I cannot just drive anywhere I want. I need to have a permit. Right? So that means I would have to buy another New York permit. Or as one guy said, he says, like another guy we were chatting with, he says, well, he says, if I were you, I'd probably just leave the trailer. He says, who's gonna steal the trailer here with the excavator? And I said, hey, you cannot just leave the trailer inside the Customs Border Protection Plaza. You have to ask permission from the bridge authority. And I said, I know for a fact that those guys, they will charge you a storage fee. Right? Yeah, you can leave your trailer if they say it's okay, but then they're gonna charge you, I forgot, either 20 bucks or 30 bucks or 50 bucks a day. But that's still cheaper than getting a new permit. And I thought, that's what I'm gonna do. If this lady says we cannot let you through, you don't have enough paperwork, I would just go talk to the bridge authority on the US side there, right, where I was sitting, and say, hey, I need to keep my trailer here. How much? Just tell me and I'll bring cash when I have the paperwork. And then of course I would call my broker and ask him to forward me the originals, which I know are sitting in Harrisburg, PA right now at the shipper, who did not give them to me. I forgot to ask, they forgot to supply the paperwork. So whose fault it is? Definitely it's the fault of the shipper. And if you ask that question, if you ask the shipper that question, of course he'll say, hey, it's the driver. But who deals with the paperwork? Like, my job is to pick up a machine And I specifically asked the guy, is there any paperwork you're gonna give me? The guy says, no, you can go. So I would say, yeah, that's the shipper's problem. So anyway, oh, I met an interesting guy in there. I think his name was Muhammad. Yeah, he looked like from India or Pakistan, but he spoke perfect English, like a young guy, maybe, I don't know, 25, 30 years old. And there was like 5 guys before, then they all got sorted out. Somebody got turned away, like the guy with the forklift got turned back. Okay, go sir, you cannot cross. Other guys got accepted. And then this guy still, Muhammad, is still there. And I said, what are you waiting for? Everybody else, I said, you were here before me. Everybody else left. I understand why I'm here, because I'm dealing with the export of the excavator. Like, why are they holding you? And he says, well, I have some cargo and I had some copyright issues. Copyright issues. I said, what do you mean? And he says, well, we had a couple of skids of t-shirts, and t-shirts are made in Mexico, so he was trying to bring them into Canada, and they're made in Mexico. The document says they're made in Mexico, but on the chest of a t-shirt it says I think it said Nike, or or like basically it had the name of a famous brand, right? Even though the t-shirt was made in Mexico. And so I said, okay, so what are they doing with you? He says, well, they're gonna seize, confiscate these t-shirts, and then I can go. And I said, man, I said, your boss will have to pay for all this unloading and loading. I said, I know they charge like $300 an hour for the forklift to unload you. And he says, no. He says, these are like very light skids. It's kind of like bags. And he says, we carry those jacks, you know, like those manual jacks that he can lift a skid and drag it. So he says, I did everything myself. He says, it was just a couple of bags and a small skid. So he says, now I'm just waiting for them to tell me when I can go into Canada, deliver the rest. He said, that's not my problem. Somebody shipped, you know, illegal stuff. And he says, I cross here pretty much like 6-7 times a week at this bridge. And then some other guy showed up, so then they let this guy go, this Muhammad guy. He wished me all the best. He says, well, I hope they let you go. I said, thank you, sir. I hope I get lucky too. And then some old dude comes in, I don't know, maybe like 75, 80 years old. And then he starts talking to me. He says, this is unbelievable. I said, what are you in here for? And I said, are you trying to export a vehicle or something? He says, yeah, but I'm just trying to get a motorcycle across into Canada. I said, do tell, because I have nothing else to do. So the guy tells me the story. So he's a Canadian living in US who married a US citizen. Like, he married a woman who is a US citizen, but I think he still kept his Canadian citizenship. And he had a bike, motorbike, and his daughter lives in Canada. And of course he's like 75, so his daughter is probably like 40, 50, right? And he says she bought this motorcycle from us. So the daughter in Canada bought the motorcycle from the father in the States, who is a Canadian citizen. And he says, I have all the paperwork, I have the title, or registration as we say in Canada, right? He has, I'm guessing he has the sales contract, and he says they call me and they say I cannot cross because it's not essential traffic. And he told them that he's Canadian, and as of July 5th this year, Canada allows Canadians to enter the country. And so they were thinking that he's only US citizen, right? So he was bitching over there, you know, we were talking, he says, man, like it. And so, but I think he was there maybe for like 30 minutes. And then they called him, and I didn't see him anymore, so I'm guessing they let him go. So he delivered that motorcycle to his happy daughter in Canada. And I was trying to scare him with some sales tax stories. I said, they might ask you on the Canadian side when you cross the bridge, they might ask you to pay the sales tax. And he says, no, I don't think it applies. It's a North American, you know, it's Harley Davidson, made in the States. There's no duties. And I said, yeah, there's no duties, but I'm pretty sure somebody will have to pay the sales tax. And he says, no, I think my daughter will have to pay some small amount when she's registering it in Canada under her own name. And I said, I'm pretty sure she will have to pay the 13% sales tax on the amount of the purchase price. Because, you know, when I sold a couple of vehicles myself privately, you know, I take the guy to my bank, he pays off my my balance, what I owe for the car, for the pickup truck, and then we go to the MTO or DOT office in Canada. And I remember this guy, he bought my Dodge Ram pickup truck, and he had to pay 13% tax on the entire purchase price of, I'm guessing it was like 23,000 Canadian. So he had to pay that before they would allow him to register the vehicle under his name. Oh, the key is here. I don't need my own key. Oh, beautiful. That's one thing I hate, really, when they do this. The air conditioning. Where the heck is the air conditioning? Perfect. The wrong joystick. Let's boogie. this is how I like it. You push the levers in order to go forward.
That's it, boys and girls. The load is delivered. Now I just need to hook up back to my truck and get my paperwork signed and go home. And today is Monday. I think I'll just stay at home for a couple of days because I need to do my my books, you know, HST, sales tax return for June, and then I need to deal with IFTA, fuel tax reporting for the second quarter, which ended on the last day of June. So I gotta take care of that before I can go back on the road. So, but always good to have your own cat key. Thanks for watching.